Okay, I think we're live. Get this show on the road. A little bit of warm up while I wait for people to join the live chat. So if you're watching this back later, hi, how are you? We're sharing a special time now, just the two of us. How's your day been? Mine was fine. Yeah, look, and all things being equal, I'm going to be hanging around on this live stream for an hour or two and see how much fit you're here for. And hi, Toby, how are you? Good to see you, buddy. First in the room, as it were. Ah, AD is fine to the best of my knowledge. I haven't actually physically seen him since the weekend, but he had a bunch of stuff happening. I need to actually catch up with him because he has some more medical adventures coming up, or possibly underway. Hey, Major Frost, how's it going? So yeah, he had stuff on the horizon. I'll have to see how that's going. It's weird, after all this time of doing these live streams on my laptop, I was just trying to work out what the reflection in my glasses was. It is, of course, my laptop screen. So what that's going on? Yeah, it just occurred to me to put some thought into it. Hey, Charlie, how's it going? Good to see you. It's all happening. Gang's all rocking in. And hey, we'll have our usual experiment of how many trolls, if any, will there be tonight? There can't be that many more of them. I must have gotten rid of most of them, if not all of them. Or, you know, I could live in the vain hope that the trolls might get something approximating a life of their own and stay the fuck out of mine. Major Frost, no timing chain on your cars. Man, it sucks when cars do expensive shit to you. Yeah, I feel your pain. And hello, Jahatma and Caleb. Good to see you both. Hope you're having a good day, evening, depending what time it is where you are. Ah, so yeah, so hopefully we can have a bit of fun together. And Wrestling Days, Big Pat, how's it going, buddy? Charlie, I think I did. Like literally just when I was saying goodbye, a troll popped up. And I think I did actually block them before going away. Although maybe another one appeared after I went. I don't know. They're very weird people. Hey, Shelf Warmer, how's it going? I mean, as I discovered today, like I did a video last night uh, specifically to wind up Alex Jones InfoWars conspiracy nutbags. And I found out today there are people who think Alex Jones is a conspiracy. They're saying he's a toady of the Zionist media. It's like, oh my God, when Alex Jones isn't out there and bizarre enough for you, so you have to declare that he's under the control of the Jews. It's very weird. Hey, Tara, how are you going? And Pat, I'm doing quite well. How are you doing? Hope things are fine in your neck of the woods. Oh yeah, Charlie, I did see that one. That's right. The troll was going on about race and ID and IQ, not ID. Maybe about IDs too. Yes. So yeah, I mean that's just a stupid conversation to have anyway, because it's just a racist trying to justify their racism, so they're not worth engaging with. But you know, if you were going to try and have a sensible conversation, you bring up things like, well, what defines race? That's a social construct as much as anything else. And also, really, all IQ tests measure is how good you are at doing IQ tests, because they're incredibly culturally biased. They certainly aren't a measure of how functional you are or how worthwhile you are. And people who obsess about IQ tests tend to have two traits. One is they don't actually understand how IQ tests work, and two, they're very, very, very insecure people, and they're trying to find something to cover their insecurities. Musical aviator, you have to drop out in and out. Oh, you have to go for a family funeral to New Zealand. I can understand that. Shatner, you failed the online Mensa test. Mensa is a colossal scam, actually. Mensa is just a scam designed to generate membership fees for Mensa. Speaking of people who tend to be very insecure, people who trumpet their membership of Mensa tend to be quite insecure people. So your dad found a pack of honey rose tobacco-free, nicotine-free herbal cigarettes, and they're not very good to smoke. I'm not surprised. I mean, I don't think cigarettes are good to smoke either. But yeah, I have very big questions because if someone was trying to posit these herbal cigarettes as being somehow healthy, I would beg to differ, because burning stuff and inhaling it into your lungs is still a carcinogenic practice. They may not have any addictive things in them like nicotine, but yeah, it'd be a stretch to say they're healthy. Ah, musical aviator, nice day with your work crush. All right. Your work crush was nice to you, and now you're having feelings. Oh no. Yes, that can be a bit much. Oh my God, I was having this discussion with Mrs. Angry. I have it on a regular basis. How well, yeah, glad I'm in a long-term relationship because I'm in love, and I'm happy about that. Even just in the abstract, I am so glad I'm not out in the dating world today, because it seems like a fucking nightmare. And I never liked it. I never liked the dating world, but it particularly seems like a nightmare these days. Shell for me, you make a valid point in the world of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Smart people know they don't know everything. And someone who points to a single data point, like I did well in an IQ test in Mensa, and thinks that elevates them above other people, it's probably a sad individual. I don't know who's credited with coining the phrase. Uh, uh, there is a well-known phrase that says the trouble with the world is stupid people are full of certainty and wise people are full of doubt. And that's the way it tends to be. Oh, hey, Erica, how you going? You didn't lose, or we're going shopping. Sure, let's do that. Big Pat, I have seen Sailor Moon. I wasn't watching Sailor Moon today, but I am aware of Sailor Moon and have watched it. Major Frost, look, I know the feeling, being single. Okay, for me, whenever I've met someone, I've started a relationship. It's always been like in a situation where I could be introduced to them, like at a party, like at a friend's party. Now, I've never, literally never in my life picked up in a pub or a club or anything like that. It's been like I met people when I was at uni or at a friend's party, or in this latter day through internet dating. But man, if I went out to a pub or a club by myself, I wouldn't talk to anyone all night. I hate that, being in an environment where I don't know people. I'm not the type who talks to complete strangers except from on the internet. Shatma, you're at uni today with a lecture of a few hundred kids. You're up the back. Are you watching them? Oh, they're all on Facebook. Or you just had your book and pen. Yeah. Electronic devices can be very distracting. Oh gosh, Scott, you're right. Michaela Cash has got a real thing about work associations going on. Tendai, I'm well, thank you. I'm sure you're a handsome devil too. Echo Pixie, you accidentally got a girl's number. Look, I wouldn't be surprised that a girl or a guy would give you their number. You know, you're pretty damn impressive. It's fun because in the group, there's a few people in the chat who I actually know in the real world. The majority of people I don't know in the real world. But AngryPixie has actually been in video on my channel. So yes. Major Frost, I feel you. Complete stranger, I'm not gonna even attempt to chat them up. I don't think I have ever actually gone out with someone through work. Not to say I haven't had work crushes, but I don't think I have ever actually gone out with someone from work. It's always been I've been introduced to someone by friends, or I've been at a party. Ooh, Miss Foxification, hello to you. Agro Pixie, you've joined a wrestling gym. Oh my God, they won't know what hit them with you. And for those who don't know, Agro Pixie, wee but swole, who works as a baker, is always lifting something, and she's hella strong, really stacked with the muscles. You got the number of a girl from Young Labour the other day. Yeah. You don't know if it was just to get you to join Young Labour, or she was generally friendly, because she was weirdly chatty. It is a little bit hard to tell sometimes when someone's friendly. But I don't know, giving you the number, unless you ring it and it's just the sign-up number, actually giving you the number seems like a bit more than just trying to get you to sign up. That seems like very much a flirty move. Ms. Foxification, you raise a very good point about dating people from work being a bad idea if you like the job at all. Because if things go south, it may be very hard to stay in the job. Yes. Hi, Sebastian. How are you doing? Scott, I'm with you. House parties or barbecues. I've in the day met a lot of girlfriends through just parties, friends parties, and being able to meet someone in a, a slightly more controlled environment, in that it's not complete strangers, because you can always go, oh, hey, how are you doing? Who do you know here? And you work out who your mutual friends or acquaintances are. He's saying everyone knows the dirtiest of clubs is where the smart and nice girls hang out every day. I don't know. That may well be true. All I know is I have never been the type to hit on or even talk to women in a pub or club. Celtic King, well, look, say get my pants off. For all you know, my pants are off, because of course, I'm probably going to get a drink later, and then you'll see I am wearing pants, so I won't taunt you with that. You're right, Sebastian. You've got to expand on, man. That's why see, I'm a proto internet data, basically, and I've probably mentioned this bit of trivia before, but my daughter, young Ms. Angry, who's about to turn 20, well, this year anyway. No, wait, she is 20. Oh my God, I'm a bad parent. She is 20. Her last birthday was the 20th. Wah, wah. So, yes, anyway. Young Ms. Angry. I met her mum in an internet chat room back in the 90s. So this is before internet dating even existed. This is very early days of internet, like We probably met about 22 years ago. But it is perfectly possible that my daughter is the first baby to come from a purely internet relationship between two people who were in different cities when they met on the internet. Oh, you remember those days, Miss Foxification? ASL, age, sex, location. Tara, I'm not going to miss your 21st. I just did the sums in my head and realised that her 20th birthday was the one that just went. So, yeah, but you don't wear pants in Queensland. You wear sarongs. I still wear my kilts. I haven't worn my kilt for a little while. White Night was the last time I wore my kilt. I've probably worn it around the house since then. Okay, Kilter King's going for the motivation of it should be a pants off live chat. Well, I'll leave that up to individuals to decide. Like I said, I could leave you in suspense and say, for all you know, I am pants free, but I'm not. So, oh yes, no, it would be very much in the doghouse if I forgot our daughter. Yes, I still do talk to their mum, simply because you have to maintain a relationship, and it's been tough over the years, but you know, it's fine now. I don't see her very much. Sometimes when the kids are moving between places, but yeah, no, my relationship on cordial terms with their mum. She's actually out of the country for a little while. So both the young Angries are staying with me. Yes, my utility kilt is in fact cool. So I'm quite fond of it. Sure, for me, you're not wearing a skirt. Shirt. Sorry, little letters. You're not wearing a shirt. That's okay. Topless, bottomless. The choice, or you know, neither. The choice is yours in this wild and crazy world of ours. No judgment, whichever way you go, including, of course, if you choose not to do either. No compulsion on anyone. That's your call completely. If you're fully clothed or topless or bottomless, I won't hold it against you either way, anyway, whichever way, because I think everyone should make their own choices. My God, it's funny that you're not seeing what I'm seeing. Something else on my channel. That the Stains, little shit stain sycophants, just regurgitate his talking points like the ventriloquist dummy. I mean, he might as well have his hand up their ass making them talk. I'm sure a lot of them would enjoy that. I live naturally. You've walked in on one of the usual things. Look, the talks, they go, and there's just been the question of if people should take their pants off. And I said, that's optional. Shelf warmer. First week back at uni. One of the supermarkets that are nearest to my place is next to a uni, and because it's the first week at uni, when I've tried to go to that supermarket, the car park's been full with all the fucking new students trying to get used to the uni and stuff. I'm sure they'll settle down at some point. Sebastian, you may well be right that old mate Michaela Cash could get a look in tomorrow's TFU video, because there may be more developments by tomorrow. Because for those who don't know, Australian politics, super wacky. There were these discussions for various people in the Senate in what's called the estimate committee, and where you ask questions of politicians and public servants about what the government's doing and what not. And this one government minister, Michaela Cash, has never been able to shake that her office tipped off the media that they'd set up a politically motivated raid on union offices, and basically tipped off the media and said, "Oh, you should go down there because the police are about to raid, and that would make for good pictures for the news." And there are all kinds of things wrong with doing that. To the extent that when they realized how much they'd fucked up, like, oh no, the media actually told everyone that we told them. She disavowed knowledge of the tip off to the media. One of her staff had to take responsibility and resign, and then was very hard to find afterwards because I don't think they wanted to be questioned under oath about whether they were acting on the minister's direction. So she's still feeling heat from that because that's a dodgy as hell thing to do. And when she's being questioned in the estimates committee, sort of saying something about her staff, she just left field, went, oh, you don't want to be talking about staff? I'll start talking about staff in Bill Shorten's office, all the young women and all the rumours. And that was super bizarre because she was being asked legitimate questions and then straight away went into this bizarre rumor mongering thing. And of course, being a typical cowardly weasel politician, she wouldn't commit to anything. She said, "Oh, if you start asking about staff, I'm going to start saying things about Bill Shorten's staff." And the Labor senator on the committee is going like, calm the fuck down. And also it's just like, okay, the obvious inference to draw from what she's saying is that there are female members of opposition leader Bill Shorten's office who don't have their job based on their qualifications, as in there's a bit of going on, which is really sleazy to just throw out there because it's weird. Years ago, the Libs tried to say, "Oh, Bill Shorten had an affair with a staffer," and it wasn't true. And they came up with a name. I know there's someone on his staff called Shannon that he definitely had an affair with, and she might be pregnant. Turns out there was someone on Shorten's staff named Shannon, but it was a dude. So it was a pretty sort of fucking stupid rumor that Shorten got Shannon pregnant. But she churned it up again. But then, as Sebastian pointed out, Penny Wong came in. Penny Wong is the senior opposition person in the Senate, and this was a Senate Estimates Committee. She wasn't on the committee, but she heard what Michaela Cash said, like slandering Bill Shorten stuff, and she just came in and said, no, fuck you. You don't get to say things like that. You're just slandering people, and that's completely unacceptable. You withdraw that now. And Cash is super on the back foot at this point. He's going, oh, if anyone's offended, I withdraw. And it was just basically Penny Wong is the enforcer. I mean, man, people you would not want to cross, Penny Wong's at the top of the list because she will fuck you up. Like there's a few people saying they're a Penny Wong fans. I was a huge fan of hers from a couple years ago when she passed. I think he was the treasurer at that time, the Liberal Party treasurer. They were, I think it was probably the ABC studios. They were both sort of past each other for different interviews. And Joe Hockey passed Penny Wong. And there were cameras there. And I don't know, he tries to be like, I'm a chirpy, happy guy. And he goes, hi, Penny. And she just looked at him and went, ugh, and walked past him. It was fucking devastating. It was like he was doing this nerdy, hi, Penny. And she just fucking non-verbally just slammed him. Look, I think yeah, a lot of people say Penny Wong should be PM, should be leader of the Labor Party. I think she has more credibility and more value than just about anyone in the Labor Party. But we need to get real. The ridiculous treatment that Julia Gillard got as Prime Minister, and as she put it in her farewell speech, the sexism wasn't everything, but it wasn't nothing. And a lot of the bile directed at Julia Gillard was solely because she was a woman, and there was a bunch of blokes, and not just on the Conservative side, but there was a bunch of blokes who weren't okay with a goddamn woman being in charge and telling them what to do. So when we've seen how bad this country treated a female prime minister, the idea of an Asian lesbian prime minister is probably a little bit too far for this country of ours. So yeah, I do like the jokes going on there because we mentioned Joe Hockey. Someone said, why isn't his name? Where was it? It was not to be confused with Chuck Baseball from Peoria. Michelle Former saying we could have Bob Basketball or his cousin Steve Wrestling. There's a thing. Wrestling Days. When is the next YouTube meet in Melbourne? Soon. I want to shoot some videos, actually. I need some people for them. So I might organise a meetup just to shoot some video because I'm really selfish like that. But sometime, we're up to March already. It'll be sometime in March. Major frost. I hope this country and the world generally advances to the point one day where politicians' gender, race, and sexual preference is completely irrelevant. But we're not there right now. Yes, Larry, you're right. The people who say sexism isn't real are really just full of shit, basically. So, yeah. February, still with the name puns. Things have never been the same since great-grandfather Dick Football passed away. Live Naturel, any in Sydney again. Last one's two. I do have minutes. If you're not already in it, there's an Australian YouTubers group on Facebook that's quite big, and people organise various things through that. And there are meetups in Sydney on occasion. Major Frost, I agree. It's stupid that we aren't there with being typical of thick left is full of bitterness and stupidity. Seriously, I just think this is funny. Okay, I think I've been saying really reasonable things, that we aren't in a situation now where we can pretend race, gender, sexuality don't matter, because they do. I thought I was just saying mild, reasonable things, and then douchey McDouchebag there comes in. Typical thing of leftists, full of bitterness and stupidity. Just comes in out of the blue with no preamble, vomiting insults and abuse. But I'm the one with bitterness. Okay. I mean, you could always go back to eating Play-Doh and fiddling with your own shit in the corner. I mean, you could actually leave the grown-ups alone. Like, for fuck's sake. That is so pathetic. Just having a perfectly reasonable conversation without being hugely judgmental on anyone, just stating an objective, observable truth that we're not at the stage where people's gender, race, and sexuality doesn't matter, and you're going to be a fuckwit, and it's just bad. Hey, Stella, how's it going? Oh dear. All Aussie adventures, time to hit the road. What's his name? Russell Coit. I Oh my God! For those who've never seen that, I think most Australians in the chat will have seen Russell Coight, um, but it's a spoof of Aussie Outdoorsman. It's a comedy spoof of it, but non-Australians particularly, I think, because Russell Coight was done so deadpan, but he was quite the idiot. I think often non-Australians think it's legit. They, they don't realize it's comedy because it's done so straight, and like half the time it'll just seem like a normal, Aussie Outdoorsman show, and he's just kind of incompetent and things go wrong. And I think sometimes it takes people a little while to work it out. Oh, Abigail, the world is full of the ass hats. So, Shelf Warmer, you do a Russell Coight dance. That's nice. Live Natural. It is really good that you're getting back into the YouTubes after all these years. Yeah, you should definitely join the Facebook group because it's a great way to sort of dive in and interact with people. Oh, cool, Pat. Your basketball team won on Saturday. Nice. Good work, that man. So I just saw that by play misfoxification saying there's no skill in being a troll. They're just mosquitoes of the internet. And Jam was saying, well, at least with mosquitoes, you get a shot at malaria. That's, I'm not sure that's a plus either, but yeah. No, I regard, see, I've been on the internet long enough to miss trolls of quality, people who would actually be having fun while saying really weird, jarring, disruptive things and trying to lead people on. But now it's people who call themselves trolls are just insulting, abusive losers. Just really sad, underdeveloped, fucking worthless losers. I equate them because, again, anyone who follows my socials knows I post lots of photos of the street art in Melbourne. And I think the haters on the internet now, the abusers, the shit stains, I equate them to the taggers. Like you get the really good quality street art and graffiti, and then sad, desperate little taggers just with their texture or little spray can just scroll over it. It's this desperate need to, I want to people to know I exist. I have literally nothing to contribute that's positive. All I can do is detract from what someone else with actual talent has done. But I demand that you acknowledge my existence, and I will drag other people down because I can't build anything up. The Heretic. Do I take comfort knowing you find my videos explaining basic concepts with established facts? Yeah, well, that is what I attempt to do. It's just, yeah. Yes. Yes, Miss Foxification. It's like a 5-year-old. They're just little children. Emotionally, they are children. They're so desperate for attention. I don't know what's gone wrong in their life, but they can't tell the difference between good attention and bad attention. And if people notice that they're a worthless piece of shit, they feel like they've accomplished something because clearly their biggest fear is not being noticed at all. And they regard it as an accomplishment that people point out they're fucking garbage. Seriously, I mean, there are times when I pity them because, I mean, how fucked does your life have to be that getting people to hate you, getting people to think you're completely worthless shit? how bad does your life have to be that that's an actual improvement? That people knowing you exist and that you're total fucking shit is better than the situation you were in before, where just no one knew you existed. And you're happier that people acknowledge your existence as a really worthless piece of shit. It's like, I don't quite feel sorry for them, but I get kind of close sometimes. I get to the point where I go, wow, those people are really sad. Locust Trooper, I haven't been at Trump lately. And Jatma, you point out a good one. I might point out. So I don't, Trump's just so obvious. It's just like his line this week after the school shooting, he would have run into the school even without a weapon, because we learned after the fact there was a armed sheriff deputy outside the school who did not go in when he heard the automatic gunfire going off in there, because he didn't want to get shot, I guess. And people are giving that guy a fairly hard time. But the absolute, see, this is the thing I don't get with people who actively support Trump. If you are even mildly objective, you just look at Trump, you go, he's a fake. He's a liar. He's a coward. He's a hypocrite. He's definitely not Christian, which is really creepy that you get those evangelicals idolizing him because he'll pander to them. Every time I see an activist Christian group praising Trump, the thought that just occurs to me is like, man, you are so fucking lucky that that shit you preach isn't true. Because if even a tenth of what you preach is true in your church, siding with Trump would get you sent straight to hell, to the worst punishment in hell. Because, oh my God, he's just a bumble. Oh, Locust Trooper, big question. Who's worse, Tony Abbott or Donald Trump? Trump. On a number of levels, Trump is a worse human than Abbott. And anyone who knows what I think about Tony Abbott, my opinion of Tony Abbott is very fucking low. Tony Abbott is a worse person. Sorry, Donald Trump is a worse person. He's in a position to do much more damage as president of the US. He's actively and directly emboldening racists, homophobes, straight up neo-Nazis. He's embraced and emboldened the worst of people. Trump's far worse than Abbott. Abbott is a piece of shit, and Trump's just worse than that. Oh, the heretic. The whole gun thing, people still being pro-gun after a mass shooting, and how they come up with excuses for white guys who do the shootings. You know, the ridiculous fallback now is, oh, it's a mental health issue. Like, fuck. Okay, no, it isn't. But anyway, like I said, whenever one of these shootings just happen all the time in the US, I refuse to expend emotional energy on them because nothing's fucking happened. Sargon's a garbage person. That's that other film. The title bestowed on him by the Dark Mother. Are you talking about what's her face? Feminist Frequency. She said that at VidCon, didn't she? Anita Sarkeesian. Yep. When Sargon tried to disrupt a panel by messing with them by getting all these cronies in the front row of the panel on diversity, and Anita Sarkeesian just called him out, said he's a garbage person and he's trying to intimidate people. I was like, yeah. Was it Shuffle? Army's pretty middle of the road. He could be GOP or Democrats. Well, he was very much a Republican economically, but the pragmatism he showed is becoming increasingly rare in the Republicans. It didn't used to be that rare, but in the last 2 decades, particularly, American Republicans have drifted further from any sort of objective, rational truth and really deeply into ideology at all costs. And that's dangerous. Like, people always blame the left, and yes, old school lefties, old school, communists or socialists, is ideology at all costs. Like, you get the people who actually defend Stalin or defend the excesses of Che Guevara or Fidel Castro, but that's what mainstream Republicans do now. They've completely cut themselves off from objective fact, and it's about ideology over everything else. Like a stripper, where's Mistress M? Mistress M lives in Adelaide now. She moved to Adelaide a few years ago, and she's done a degree in psychology, social work, I think. And in fact, she just got married, which was kind of nice. I found that out on Facebook, that she just got married, which is nice. You raise a good point that celebrities as world leaders is an objectively bad idea. Well, Miss Foxication, was Sargon one of the founders of Gamergate? Gamergate was so fucked. I remember the guy who was the start of it, angry at his ex-girlfriend, and started all these lies and bullshit, and the rest just piled on because it was an excuse to attack feminists. But Celtic King, yes, I have received mail lately. There's some waiting for me. I think I got an email saying some waiting for me, but I haven't been. I'm going into the city tomorrow, so I will try to remember to check my mailbox. Jahatma, it's not all. I get where you're coming from. Rich kids saying communism is a good idea and they don't know what it's like. Champagne socialists. Yes, I'm fond of that, Jim. It's not all rich kids. I grew up in very working class, pro-union environments, and a very significant number of the working class are very not necessarily communist. I've never been a communist or a socialist, but I do understand what you're saying, that some people are very detached from the reality of how communism has been implemented. What's that like, Hershey? You've had friends defend people like Stalin and Castro. Well, America started it. Yeah. It's, again, this is where, when you're tightly bound to an ideology, I regard that as a bad thing, because then you feel like I can't point out the flaws in my side, because that's given ammunition to the other side, who are objectively worse. So I don't want to acknowledge the things that are actually wrong with my side, because I don't want to give fuel to the other sides who are really bad. Celtic Cling, I'm glad you think I'm sexy. No, I'm glad. That's good. That, of course, veganism, contentious point you have with your friends. Which side of the veganism argument are you on, La Heretic? See? Major Frost, it is easy to think that, yes, to identify rich kids don't have to work, so they get everything handed to them. So maybe that's why communism seems good. I don't know. Tendai, you say, when you say all roads lead to eating the rich, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm just not sure. Right, Chatman, it's like religion. Politics taken to an extreme leads to terrible things. Religion taken to an extreme leads to terrible things. Oh my God, there's this person, I'm trying to remember her name, is in the sort of nerd world. You've got these people defending actual Nazis, like people with swastika tattoos, who say things about exterminating the Jews and whatnot, and people who want to tell the world they're progressive, defending these actual Hitler-loving, swastika-wearing Nazis and defending their friendship with these people. Going, there's this line like, "Oh, as a pacifist, I can't be harsh to him." It's like, go fuck yourself, you privileged piece of shit. As soon as I see someone saying like, "No, you have to listen, you have to let the," no. When the core of someone's ideology is the extermination of other peoples, you shut that shit down hard, because we've seen what happens when you don't. You know, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And the people who say it's it's important to listen to Nazis. No, it isn't. It really isn't. We know what the Nazi message is, and it's wrong and needs to be rejected and needs to be fucking crushed. What, Patrick? Oh, a conundrum. I get to solve one social issue. I can either do gender equality, but I must spoon Trump by whispers me lullabies every night, or I get race equality, but I have to spend the rest of my days as a pokey assistant in the whitest, racist pub in Australia, or sexual equality, but I get to wear a chastity belt. I'm leaning towards two, because I grew up in the places with the most racist, whitest pubs and pokey venues in the world, and I could spend the whole time calling them pieces of shit. That is a good conundrum, though. I mean, you know, gender equality, but I have to spoon with Trump. Am I big spoon or little spoon in that scenario? Because that would make a difference. Being big spoon or little spoon would make a difference. And I'm sorry, I'm not going for the chastity belt. So I'm sorry, sexual equality, you're not happening. Locust Trooper, what's the debate? Who is worst president of all times, Trump or Nixon? Trump. I wouldn't even hesitate. Trump is Nixon without the intelligence, because Nixon was intelligent, and without the narcissistic personality disorder. Trump was way worse. You look in the context of the times, Trump is way worse. I'm Little Spoon. Okay, Shepard thinks, yeah. No, see, being Little Spoon is a little disturbing with Trump. I think I'm going for number two, that we get race equality, but I have to be surrounded by. I'd take that one for the team. It's all about taking one for the team. What I'd take is being surrounded by racists. Night, Abigail. Never stop punching Nazis. Good advice. Yeah, Le Heretic, the idea that Nazis need free speech is fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you're right, Major Frost. Trump is just a pompous, rich prick who's had everything his own way, has blown billions of dollars, has been propped up by criminals and illegal deals. Trump, this is the fun thing. Trump would be richer if he never touched the money he inherited. If it was just invested in a low yield bank account, and he never touched it, and never tried to do any deals, he would be richer now. He's lost so much money in bad business deals over the years. He's only been kept afloat by criminals and foreign interests who just fucking own him. But yeah, this is the thing, Heretic. The fascist pattern is consistent, and it is really fucking disturbing. It is really disturbing how much Trump and his team explicitly use fascist playbook. It's really quite disturbing, the historical references. Shellformer, I agree that I like to know who the Nazis are, but you know, shut the motherfuckers down as well. When they pop their ugly little heads out, you kick them in the fucking head. The heretic. So you're using two big words saying Trump's in violation of the Emoluments Clause. Of course he is. Trump is guilty of so many criminal things. And you know that the Special Investigator Mueller, is just looking for the best thing to get Trump on. He could successfully charge Trump with a number of criminal offences now, but you can tell he just wants the best one to get Trump on. He wants the most to get Trump on. Locust, the next president is Jordan Belfort. I don't know if that's a joke. That name sounds vaguely familiar to me. But I can't place it. But I'm on the internet, so I'm going to look and find a picture of Jordan Belfort. Oh, okay. He's an American author, motivational speaker, and stockbroker. Oh, and he's pleaded guilty to fraud and related crimes in relation to stock market. Oh, he's the Wolf of Wall Street. I knew the name. He's the Wolf of Wall Street. Okay. Yes. Oh, Major Frost, Trump's not a mafia boss. Trump's a mafia stooge. Trump's taken mafia money in the past. He's taken Russian money. He's taken all sorts of foreign money to prop up his deals. And that's what Mueller wants to get him on. Mueller wants to get him on really fucking serious charges. Shell former, yes, they want freedom of hate speech. Is the one thing, and it's one of the many reasons I get exasperated with the fuckwits who go on about the freedom of speech, but they want to be filthy, racist, misogynist, if not outright Nazi shitbags, and they expect no repercussions, and they go, freedom of speech. Like, you don't even know what that fucking term means, because any country that actually has any sort of laws or constitutional protections for freedom of speech, all it means is the government won't prosecute you for things you say. But there are still limits, like you can't slander people, you can't incite violence on people. It's absolutely, and most definitely, media outlets do not have to give a platform to anyone. And the idea of these people must be given a platform, otherwise their freedom of speech is infringed, is utterly fucking ridiculous. You're not getting me upset, Major Frost. Look, I get what you're saying about Trump being a mafia boss, but he's just too incompetent. He's maybe the front man that the real boss puts out. Like Putin is a mafia boss, right? Putin is a scary, ruthless mafia boss. Will, without hesitation, and I'm saying this literally, will without hesitation kill anyone he regards as a threat to his power. Putin is a mafia boss. Trump is a stooge that gets put out front to bloody stop the bullets and protect the real boss. Oh, yeah, Hatma. Even if, like, Air Force One crashed with Trump on it, the investigation would keep going because there's so many other guilty people. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Charlie Litton, you hit a point. When people like Chelsea Manning or Reality Winner get locked up for releasing secrets, the free speech warriors on the right tend to be very quiet. It's because they're hypocrites. They're not about free speech. They're about their speech. They will go out of their way to suppress the speech of anyone they don't like. And then they'll lie about it. See, I'm not going to lie. I think Nazis should be shut the fuck down. I don't think conservatives should be shut down. I don't even think like homophobes and misogynists should be shut down. I think they should be called out. I think you should point out that's bullshit and you're garbage. But Yeah, Nazis don't get free speech when the core of your ideology is the extermination of other people. No, that shit doesn't get tolerated. I guess misfoxification. I'm trying to say his name, Litvinenko. But there are politicians, journalists. There's quite a long list of people who were fucking obviously knocked off by Putin. Sebastian was it? Christopher Hitchens called Putin a neo-Stalinist dictator. Yeah, people point out he's a former senior KGB agent. He is hardcore, old school Soviet, absolutely ruthless in the execution of power. Does not fuck around at all. That's right, Shahatma. Again, I'm going bad with the Russian name. The journalist Anna Politkovskaya. And yeah, she was just gunned down in her apartment building, if I remember right. Yep, I think we agree, La Heretic, that Nazis being allowed to walk around is a fucking risk to everyone. And it's the people who call themselves patriots and I'm for the troops and you lefties hate our military. And at the same time, praising the enemies that the troops died fighting is like, does my head in. It's again, just the blatant hypocrisy is absolutely bizarre. Lucas Tripper, do I feel sorry for the woman who got pregnant by Barnaby Joyce? She made a choice. I feel sorry for me because you've just again put the image into my head of Barnaby Joyce having sex, and that's unpleasant. That was not nice of you to, because I'd kind of forgotten that whole thing. I hadn't thought about it for a little while, and you've gone and put it back in my head. Ugh. Sebastian, who are you saying thinks the fall of the USSR was the worst thing of the 20th century? Um, yeah, you got to go. Thanks for dropping by, Major Frost. Oh, you got to do some stuff for a live broadcast on your PS4. Well, I'll have a go. Shelformer, I don't think Anzac Day is getting more taboo. I think it's very scary the degree to which the Conservatives are trying to force Anzac Day as a piece of jingoistic flag waving with no critical thought whatsoever. That's really disturbing. Oh, yeah, I don't know about Barnaby Joyce jokes. It's just like, I did like the one. Um, someone posted a picture because Barnaby Joyce got moved to the back bench and he's sitting next to Tony Abbott, and there was a picture published of Barnaby Joyce looking really uncomfortable to be sitting next to Tony Abbott, and someone turned it into a meme with the caption, when you get in trouble in class and get sat in the naughty chair and you're forced to sit next to the weird kid who nobody likes. I thought that was funny. But when you get in, yeah, there's a joke that keeps on giving, but yes, it's all a bit the backbenching. But yeah, it was a funny photo of Joyce and Abbott sitting next to each other, and it just looked really uncomfortable. Yes. The Heretic, the ANZACs, it's an acronym that stands for Australian New Zealand Army Corps. Uh, uh, as a term that was first used in World War One, and famously, they were a significant part of the troops that landed in Gallipoli, Turkey. Was this grand plan of Winston Churchill's, and a few other people, but Churchill was the main architect, that they believed because Turkey was aligning itself with Germany in the First World War. And the sea pass, the Dardanelles, was really important. And if you could defeat Turkey, it would be a tactical advantage against Germany in Europe. And so there's this big beach landing, Turkey, and which the Turkish troops successfully repelled with massive loss of life. Like, it was really fucking ugly. The Gallipoli campaign was really ugly. And it's now commemorated on April 25th, Anzac Day. But yes, it's again, the weirdness that the Conservative politicians are pushing about how people have to observe Anzac Day. They're completely detaching itself from the reality of what actually happened. It's fucking busy. You're right, Shatner. The Turks lost about 200,000, and the Anzacs, and there were other British Imperial troops there, lost about 40,000. What was interesting is it ended up forming a bond between Turkey and Australia. It was also a turning point because Turkey used to be the Ottoman Empire, and out of Gallipoli in World War One came the birth of modern, more or less secular Turkey under the leadership of a guy known as Ataturk. It's not his real name, but he's known as Ataturk. He was a military commander defending something. And man, that guy was hard as fucking nails. Because, again, this is the thing that people gloss over when they want to mythologize the whole Anzac campaign and about the noble story. We were invading another country. The enemy in that was defending their homeland. They were the enemy, but people sort of seem to gloss over they were defending their homeland. And people tend to get pretty fucking hardcore when they defend their homeland. And Ataturk was famous for saying things to his troops like, your job here today is to die. You do not let these people come 1 mile more into our country. There is no retreat. There is no surrender. It's your job to die defending your country. And like, yay. And die they did in massive numbers. But he was big on reconciliation after the war. And the Anzac Memorial in Anzac Cove has carved into it a famous quote of his that I don't remember all of, and even when I read it, I have trouble not choking up when I read it because it's so. In fact, I can probably look it up. Where's the words? Is that it? Come on, bring up the words. No, I need it bigger so I can read it. Okay, this is the quote from Ataturk, and this is just intense to me. And this is a memorial for the Anzacs in Turkey. And this is the force that was invading their country, right? Which, you know, you could sort of see why someone would be pissed off at them. But this reflects the bond of them. And the quote is, those heroes that shed their blood and lost their lives, you are now lying in the soul of a friendly country. Therefore, rest in peace. There is no difference between the Johnnies and the Mehmets to us where they lie side by side here in this country of ours. So here's the thing, I have real trouble reading this without fucking choking up. It's like, you the mothers who sent their sons from faraway countries, wipe away your tears, for they are now living, was it? I'm trying to get the words here. For they are now living in our bosom and are in peace. And it's just like, and that's his tribute to the enemy who invaded the country. And it's just like, fuck. And yes, you can say there were many bad things about the Ottoman Empire, and I'm sure Ataturk did very bad things, but man, that's just so fucking intense. Charlie, you're saying that when the Gallipoli movie came out, American audience were shocked by the end because it's not a happy ending. Everyone dies. It's an early Mel Gibson film. Hey Adele, how you doing? Oh, sure for me. You have a pine cone from the clone of the lone pine. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, that's a fun. Sorry, Tara, changing the topic. Australian politics again. Julie Bishop. This is a weird thing. She's another senior minister in our Conservative government, and she has a live-in boyfriend, and she has claimed travel expenses for him to travel with her various government jobs, which in and of itself is fine. But there's also, I think it's called the Register of Pecuniary Interests. You have to, as a politician, declare not only your own interests and your own assets, but your spouse, partner, family. So it's basically meant to identify where there might be a conflict of interests. And Julie Bishop has refused to put her boyfriend's assets on the asset register because she said he's not my partner as such. But she's claimed travel expenses for him. And so you're a heretic, possibly. You just call him an expensive fuck buddy. And hello, Cliff Jumper. How are you? Adele, you're trying to train a new puppy who's sooking at bedtime. I feel your pain. Oh, misfoxification. He might be the asset. See, here's a okay. We're highlighting what seems like a real conflict with Julie Bishop. But there's one thing I like about Australian politics, like our former Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, wasn't married. She had a live-in boyfriend. She's also an atheist. So when I say we're not ready for an Asian lesbian Prime Minister, we're not. Even if she's my favourite politician, Penny Wong, we were just barely and kind of not really ready for a woman Prime Minister who was also an atheist, although that was fairly low-key, and shacked up with a boyfriend rather than being married. But Julie Bishop, she's a senior Conservative, and she's not compelled to be married. That's a positive in Australian politics as far as I'm concerned. Oh, Adele, it's a rescue puppy, so it has separation anxiety. Yes. Okay. That's fairly well. You are right, Miss Foxification, that politicians tend to be able to do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. Like, it's true. How's my contract IT job searching going? It's going. Like, there's a lot of jobs, and I'm talking to like a fuck ton of agencies. Some of them will say things to me like, "Have we talked to you about blah 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 blah?" And I'm going, I don't even fucking remember anymore. Just give me a job. Stop talking. Get me a job. Oh, yes. Sorry. Back to Julia Gillard's boyfriend was a hairdresser. You actually some prattling Conservative talking heads couldn't resist saying that the fact that a boyfriend was a hairdresser meant he was gay. As stupid as that is. Hey, Shelf Warmer, who knows? Maybe they're both poly. Because that was always the what they were implying, that she's not really sexually involved with him. He's gay anyway. He's her beard, and she's actually a lesbian. Who knows? Tara, what comment did I miss? I can maybe scroll back. I don't know. Just tell me again. There's a lot of chat. Well, yeah, the Ottoman Empire, things like they're being accused of various genocides or attempted genocides. Like in the early 20th century, people refer to the Armenian genocide. I, through the magic of the internet, made a few friends in Turkey. They are very touchy if people start talking about, particularly the Armenian genocide. Even really secular, progressive Turks have a tendency to not be real keen on people talking about the Armenian genocide, which they say didn't happen. Locust Trooper, I'm not a programmer. I am a business analyst. I tend to write things up. Sorry, Tara, you just wrote that one. I don't know what that means. So, on the subject of beards, Chris Pine's looking well. Look, he is, without a doubt, the campest heterosexual man in public life that I know of. Like, you know, my regular sidekick, Aidsy, is super gay. He's a lot more butch than Christopher Pine, though, who is apparently completely heterosexual. But yeah. Yeah, Le Heretic, I guess you're right that most people want to gloss over concepts of genocide or attempted genocide, like Australia and its indigenous population. But yes, the acknowledgement after World War II in Germany is pretty good, basically. What's the time? 19. I think I should mix myself another drink. Just have to decide what to have. What can I have? What can I have? Ooh, I can have that. I know what I have. Get some juice. And get this. Yeah, a red drink, I think. Oh, okay. Sherry saying all the kids at uni, they're all metrosexual, all rainbow pants and button-ups. You're just there in your pajamas. Oh, okay. Tara? Yes. You just kept saying stuff that was completely unhelpful. That one, the one before, go back. And now you're saying you're telling me to get naked. Not for a number of reasons. Not a thing that's really going to happen. It's 9/11 in Melbourne. You are, in fact, right, the heretic. I should open my own bottle shop. Or a cocktail bar, maybe. This is one I made. I think the base of this was gin. I'm trying to remember. Or was it tequila? I can't even smell. But it's red because I dissolved chili rock candy in it. And it's got actual chili oil. And I've got to go, Tendo. Thanks for dropping by, buddy. Ooh, how much is left here? Well, I just drink all of that. How much of that's there? Yeah, that's empty. I can wash that little decanter out now. Cliff Jumper, I've said I have an abnormally large head. It's true. Is the glass abnormally large too? Yes, it is. That's basically a pint glass. So that's why it's as big as my head. Because it's basically a pint glass. Oh, I say, Tendo, bye, Tendo, okay. I'm easily confused. Jhatma, I could be a cam girl on Twitch. I just need to push up bra, push my moobs up like that and have a low cut top. That could work. I remember back in the day, a guy on YouTube actually getting his video flagged because his thumbnail was cleavage, and someone reported YouTube decided to cancel it. But it was him. He was making a joke about people who were getting views just by putting cleavage in the thumbnail. but it was actually him, like just squeezing his poops together, and it made for really convincing cleavage. And so it's super surreal that he got flagged for inappropriate content for showing male cleavage. It was really weird. Yeah, I could pass by shaved off my beard, but I'm not going to shave off my beard. I'm trying to think when the last time I actually shaved it off was. I have had a beard most of the time for 25 years. Um, and I've shaved in that time, I've shaved it off 2 or 3 times. I always grow it back though, partly because I'm lazy. Oh, there it is. If someone actually uses jet fuel can't melt Steve beams, so jet fuel can't melt steel beams to defend 9/11 conspiracies, they should look up 9/11 blacksmith. I'm assuming that's a YouTube channel, 9/11 blacksmith. I assume he actually did melt steel beams. And that's the relevant point, La Heretic. The structural steel won't melt per se into liquid, but it will get weaker. It will bend and lose its structural integrity. Yes, I call them moobs. But it's also like it wasn't just the heat of the jet fuel. It was the fucking impact of a fucking plane hitting the building. Locust Trooper, Sunshine, I used to live. It was actually a new housing development when I lived there. It's not that far off Ballarat Road. I think I was North Sunshine. Well, I got scared. My house got broken into just after I moved in. Just fucking laugh. But yeah. Toby, you had teenage girls debating whether you're a woman or a man today. Is it because of your long hair? I've heard of that too, Shelf Warmer. A failed Kickstarter campaign for a guy who wanted to raise millions to recreate the 9/11 attacks. Jahatma. Do you want to sound crazy? We all sound a bit crazy from time to time. Believe in a few conspiracies like Diana's death, JFK. I think the whole conspiracy angle of the JFK thing is overblown, but I think wasn't helped. I don't think the US government was completely forthcoming with all the details they knew. Blame the main on Spain. I don't know the details. That's MK Ultra. Well, MK Ultra was a real thing that the CIA thought they could develop psychic powers by drugging people up. So it depends where you're going with that. I don't believe you can give people psychic powers by drugging them up. You could fuck them up, definitely. Uh, and letting the Turks in the back door of the impenetrable walls of Constantinople. Again, that's not something I know about. The ones that I know about, Diana's death, I don't regard as conspiracy. It was just really bad luck. JFK, I think the conspiracy angle's overblown. Maine and Spain. I only know about the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plains. That's my theatre education. Oh, cliff jumping, you say you have a simple argument against the controlled demolition argument. Why the planes? When you include them, it becomes an uncontrolled situation. I have a simple argument for people who say inside job, controlled demolition, 9/11, and mine is you're a fucking moron. Fuck off. Seriously, honestly, really. All right, Toby, your hair. I thought you long hair. Lots of guys have long hair. The heretic JFK was killed by a Secret Service agent whose bullet curved to hit him back of the head because he's sitting behind him, and that's how bullets work. Misfoxification, the interesting thing about, and the Twin Towers thing has been modeled. They have worked out exactly what happened. It's interesting. Like, okay, tall building in Melbourne, the Rialto Tower. It's not the tallest. Used to be, but it's not now. The Rialto is designed in such a way that if a plane hit it, the building would break. The building would break, and above where the plane hit it would fall off, which would, in all probability, preserve the lower floors. But the Twin Towers were specifically designed to withstand a plane impact. And the creepiest thing ever is that someone involved in the buildings only a couple of weeks before the attack actually repeated that line at a public event, that the buildings were designed to withstand the impact of a jumbo jet. Then a jumbo jet hit them. The building fell down. But the buildings did withstand the impact quite spectacularly. It's just that the cumulative effects of the impact and the heat from the fire weakened towers. And you've seen what happened. It took for the beams on one floor to fail, and it collapsed in, and then the cascading down, it just went chung, 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 and bye-byes. Shabba, you're saying Australia is bad for growing your hair out. I had long-ish hair when I was at college, almost a mullet, and sort of down, but I've hardly ever had long hair. So, Jahatma, the two planes did not destroy 3 towers. The 2 planes destroyed 2 towers. The millions and millions and millions and millions of tons of rubble falling at massive velocity destroyed the 3rd building that was destroyed. Okay, the force of the collapse of those buildings was like a really fucking big bomb, basically. The 3rd building that was destroyed, Jim, I don't really care if you believe, but trust me, it's been shown beyond any doubt. Anyway, so there is a perfectly logical and proven explanation for everything that happened, and no conspiracy theory holds up under any scrutiny whatsoever, whereas the actual official explanation does hold up under scrutiny. Okay, I don't think you're being a troll. I think you're expressing your feelings. And that's why I'm gently expressing reality does not support your feelings. You say you want to believe, I don't believe, I believe you want to believe the conspiracies, actually. And I can understand that. I tried to logically think, why do so many people believe a really elaborate, impossible to sustain conspiracy instead of the perfectly straightforward explanation of what happened? Is because the real and relatively straightforward expression is that you and I have no control over our lives. No matter how safe and secure you think you are, without warning, fanatics could destroy your world. And I feel in America, particularly, a lot of people's worldview relies on a concept of America the strong and America the impregnable. And that simply isn't true. America, like everyone else, is vulnerable. And the idea that life is so random that you cannot possibly control what happens scares the shit out of people. And I understand that. But actual logic and facts answer everything. Locust Trooper, did 9/11 change the world? Fuck yeah. Oh my God, in such a big way. Bye, Toby. I mean, you know, just in the really obvious ways, the various wars and invasions that happened that resulted in more than 1 million people get killed. The fact that the American and Allied response to 9/11 made Islamic jihadism worse, like way, 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 way worse. It didn't combat jihadi extremism. It made it way worse. That it enriched really dodgy people behind the arms companies to the tune of billions of dollars. And even in one thing, you basically can't hijack a plane now. No one's going to let you hijack a plane because of what they know you might do with it. Before, you used to be able to hijack a plane and land it somewhere and make demands or whatever. You can't hijack a plane now, because you try and hijack a plane now and everyone on it goes, this is it, we're going to fucking die, they're going to crash. So there's nothing to be lost from attacking the armed hijackers. Pilots are never going to give up control of a plane, even if you kill all the passengers. So it was weird in that it was a terrorist attack that was in some ways too effective, because it derailed all these other terrorist attacks. Mr. T, what about China? That's a big question. What about China? Well, we're staring down the barrel of the Chinese century. You know, you say the 1800s was, you know, the British century. The 1900s is the American century. The 2000s is pretty much looking like the Chinese century. China has lots on Japan. What do you think's going on in Japan? If nothing else, China has a massively bigger population and a massive army. Cliff Jumper, I love your thoroughly comprehensive logical analysis of why the controlled demolition thing is ridiculous. It's just that people are so married to their conspiracies, logic doesn't work on them. Mr. T, will the West let them? That's an interesting question. What does that mean, though? Let them. This a hugely populous country with an enormous economy, an enormous population, an enormous military. What does let them mean? You're saying if China chose to flex its economic muscle and try to dictate what the rest of the world did, would the West respond militarily? Because the West can't respond economically without tanking their own economies. And you can't respond militarily without costing millions upon millions of lives. I don't know where let them comes in. Locust Trooper, am I worried about China? What I like about China is they seem to be inwardly focused. Most of what you see about China is they're more concerned with taking care of stuff within their borders. They're not expansionist like the British Empire, and they're not into dominating world politics like the US has been in the last century. And I think that's to our benefit. that China is more inwardly focused than outwardly focused. Because if China gets outwardly focused, that's bad. That would be bad. That would concern me really, really a lot. And you're right, Miss Foxification. China seem far more willing to negotiate and know about business than dickheads pushing MAGA. Mr. T, that's basically what I'm saying. You say China only likes Chinese, not Westerners. So what I'm saying, China is very inwardly focused. If you try and fuck with China, they will react. Cliff Jumper, you do raise a relevant point. There are some territorial disputes in the Pacific where different groups, notably Japan and China, to a lesser extent Korea, and the US has a stake in these discussions, where certain islands are regarded as strategically and economically important. China has said, no, we're going to control these shipping lanes. So, yeah, you are right. China are not 100% internally focused. Like, they wanted Hong Kong back. They want control of Taiwan. And they want to know their economic interests are protected. And so they want to know they have a reasonable, if not total, control of shipping lanes in the Pacific that they regard as important. Oh, hell. Actually, that is also a very good point, La Heretic. China covers a massive area and is actually very ethnically diverse. The people at one end of China are ethnically hugely different because you got border with Russia. You've got the Muslim Uyghur population that a lot of people in the West think of Chinese as an amorphous blob, but it is a very big mix of ethnic groups because it's fucking huge. It's absolutely fucking huge. So, and you're right, Tibet. They're pretty possessive about Tibet too. Locust Trooper. Do you ever think North Korea is going to attack Japan or South Korea? Well, I hope not. I think a few people have pointed out that what Kim Jong-un has clued himself into is that people saying, you're not allowed to have nukes. And he goes, yeah, but you won't touch me if I do. Because I notice when people like Saddam Hussein stopped his weapons program, you fucking got rid of him. When Muammar Gaddafi stopped his weapons program, you got rid of him. So maybe if I keep my weapons program, you can't fucking touch me. Oh, Mr. T, what part of China did you live in? Your sister lives in China, teaches English. Oh, the three T's you can't say. Yes, that's right. Tibet, Tiananmen Square, Taiwan. Yes, you really don't want to bring up any of those things in China. Oh, now it's East Turkmenistan. Ooh, they've got a border dispute with East Turkmenistan, do they? Because the people who run Turkmenistan are pretty fucking crazy as well. Cliff Jumper, I tend to agree with you that Russia is a bigger worry with their intent to expand into the Crimea and other countries just because oh, Mr. T, you lived in Shanghai. When was that? Because Shanghai's changed so much in the one of my long-term disappointments is I did not visit China, particularly cities like Shanghai, in the early 90s before they got modernized, because China in the early 90s and China now, completely different. And yeah, in retrospect, I'm really quite upset that I didn't visit China before those cities modernized. All right, Jatma, your sister's in the French Quarter in Shanghai, teaching at an international school. It's a fun thing I learned in the business world where I normally work. In fact, I was working for a company last year that's owned by a Chinese company. You as a Westerner, a white guy, and it also helps if you're tall, which I'm not. I'm like 5'8". You can get a job in China in big companies just being a white guy, because a lot of companies like to have the credibility of it. We've got connections with the West. Look, on our boardroom table, white guy in a suit. You don't actually have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You just have to sit at the table. You can get a job. That's a job in China. Professional white guy. I've been tempted. Go over there and do that. Be a professional white guy. Oh my God, Japma, your sister's white girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. She must get stared at all the time. That's another thing about in a lot of Asian countries, Westerners who look really different, the locals are not shy about just staring at you. Like, fuck, you look weird and different. Whether you're blonde, blue-eyed, or you're black, or you're really tall, whatever, they're just not even slightly shy about just staring and maybe even touching you because you're weird and exotic. Very different. Like it's triple. Well, China be a free country, as in not a communist dictatorship. Nothing lasts forever, but for the last couple of decades, the communist power brokers have been very clever in that they have whipped up nationalism in China. Both politically and artistically. You know, a lot of Chinese films from the last couple of decades, either the whole story or the subtext is China is a great and noble country, and we have suffered oppression at the hands of outsiders. So we must protect ourselves from the cruel outsiders who would exploit us. And that goes from stuff that's set way back in time, like Red Cliff, through to there's a Jet Li film called Hero, and it's basically about an emperor who was an authoritarian, but he was authoritarian for a good reason, to make China strong. And yes. So I think the communist power brokers have been very clever about encouraging nationalism within China. So, oh yeah. Saying Cliff Chopper, Putin and Erdogan. Erdogan, for those who don't know, is Turkey's prime minister or president, whatever that head is called. You're right, this foxification. Trump destroys international relations, is burning bridges. Putin's building them, and Putin is encouraging Trump to be such an incompetent fuck, because the whole Russian campaign for the elections was just about destabilizing and weakening America, making Americans fight with each other, and basically weakening America. It's like, God. Jesus Christ. Tara, a teacher's been arrested for shooting students. Where did that happen? I thought there was an incident where a teacher fired a single shot and barricaded them in the rooms. Is that another thing? Oh, where was I when Tiananmen Square happened? That happened when I was at college. That was really disturbing. Here's an interesting, because I'm a sci-fi geek, right? I read a lot of the classics, sci-fi, like right back to H.G. Wells. Also, you know, modern classic stuff from the second half of the 20th century. And I was a big fan of Ursula Le Guin. She's most famous for a fantasy series called Earthsea. Originally it was a trilogy, and I think ultimately there ended up being like 5 Earthsea books, but she wrote a lot of science fiction as well. And there was a really political one called The Dispossessed, where the protagonist was from an anarchist, a very successful anarchist society, and the next planet was an uber capitalist but quite totalitarian society, and the anarchists regarded this planet as like a hell world. It was so awful. But of course, the capitalist dictatorship was much like our world. And a scientist from the anarchist world goes to this capitalist world, and because he's an anarchist, he's been fated by the power people, but he doesn't like them, and he ends up being friends with the working class, and he does get in contact with an underground. And there's this one scene where he's actually addressing a rally of the working classes who want change, and helicopter gunships come in and machine gun the crowd. And I read that book before Tiananmen Square happened, and I was reading it going, sure, a lot of people said that's too extreme and not believable. Then lo and behold, Tiananmen Square happened, where the Chinese communists fucking machine gunned and tanks rolled over protesters. So it turns out Ursula Le Guin was more predicting than being too outlandish. Jahatma, my opinion on BNW, I don't know what that is. Oh, Locust Trooper, do I think America will lose its superpower stage like the British did? It's different because they have nukes. The British, at the height of their power, were not a nuclear power. The Americans, with their massive army and nuclear arsenal, that changes stuff. So I don't know. Mr. T, fair call that China are more like 1984 than 1984, with complete state control and surveillance and execution of dissidents. It's pretty goddamn hardcore in China. But yeah. Oh, yeah, now onto the arming teachers thing in the US, which is fucking dumb as shit. Look, in small controlled ways, it could happen. I saw an interesting article today where some of the inner city schools in big American cities are virtually set up like prisons now. Like everything's behind locked. Like there's never a school shooting in these inner city schools because you can't get in. Everything's locked down. Um, Hey, Joe, going right on the tail end. So, if you lock down all these schools, then that would make it hard for someone to do a school shooting. But I don't know. It just feels like there's some sickness in American society. Oh, God, Locust Trooper, that's a big one. Do you think America's ever going to pay off the debts? It's up to the trillions in the foreign debt. Economics is just fucking ridiculous, magical thinking. Makes no sense. Global economics makes no sense. You're right, La Heretic. We are dealing with the big topics show. We did 9/11 conspiracy theories, China #1. Now we're on to teachers being armed in America. Oh my God! And I think what I'll have to have a little rant in a video tomorrow about Trump and his ridiculous line of, I think I would have charged into a school being shot at even without a weapon. Trump, the colossal coward, draft dodger. I love people have been re-showing that bit of video of him being scared of an eagle that pecked at him. I mean, for fuck's sake, Trump is such a sniveling fucking coward. The idea of Trump being a hero is ridiculous. Oh, Brave New World, chat. I have read Brave New World, Aldous Huxley. There was a good TV adaptation of it in the 80s as well. Brave New World. The interesting thing is the difference between, okay, these are two dystopian sci-fi novels. I think 1984 was written in 1948, sometime around there. And I think Brave New World was written in the 60s, although I'm not completely sure. But Orwell's version of a dystopian thing is brutal oppression, as in the line from the book, if you want to imagine the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. But in Brave New World, Huxley's version of a dystopia was basically distracting us with frivolity, the state maintaining control by basically feeding us distractions, and which is much more like the world that we have. Oh, I did see the question, what were my favorite H.G. Wells stories? Because I mentioned reading them. I had an H.G. Wells compendium that had War of the Worlds. I guess War of the Worlds was my favorite. I love that as a classic. But I also read The Time Machine, First Men on the Moon, Food of the Gods. There's probably one or two. Food of the Gods is one of his lesser known ones. And that basically, H.G. Wells was a Fabian socialist. For those who don't know what that flavor of socialism is, it's basically upper classes thinking socialism is a good idea, but the working classes are too stupid to do it themselves, so they need the upper class to impose socialism on them. That's basically what happens to food. Oh, that's the other one, Charlie. Island of Dr. Moreau. Yes, that was in the compendium. I read the Island of Dr. Moreau as well. And no, Jatma, I didn't read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I don't think I read any Jules Verne, actually. Locust Troubadour, I think there'll be another Great Depression. I think without radical intervention, a combination of things, political instability, climate instability, religious extremism, is likely to cause the complete collapse of society as we know it. And I mean, the worst case scenario is Mad Max shit. So I think something like a Great Depression, I think if we escape the complete collapse of not just the economy, but society as we know it, be really fucking lucky. Miss Foxification, you think I'd like the Metro series, 20, 33, 34, 35? Who wrote those? Not guaranteeing I'll get round to them, but I feel like some smaller scale speculative fiction that I really like. There's a writer called Cory Doctorow. I really like his stuff. He's very good. He's a real technology geek, and he's very good at looking at stuff that's happening now and extrapolating what the technology could be. Or he's one of those writers where he's not really writing to predict the future. He's describing what we're looking at now, choices we're looking at now, but he writes them as near future speculative fiction. And they're a very interesting read. Oh, there are games based on Metro, and there's a movie coming. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Joe Will, you're saying Terminator 2. When young John Connor says to the Terminator, we're not going to make it, are we? And the Terminator says, "It's your nature to destroy yourselves." Toriana, you may be right that even if the US dollar collapsed, the currencies would take over and adjust things. Oh, that's a good name, Miss Foxification. The author of those books is Dmitry Glukovsky. I have not heard of him or the books, actually. Well, the heretic, it is hard not to be fatalistic about climate change. Oh, Cliff Jumper. I was a huge John Wyndham fan. I read almost everything he wrote. The Chrysalids, which is one of his less known ones, I did read. He's, of course, most famous for Day of the Triffids, which I like. There's another one called The Kraken Wakes. One of his last ones was called Chocky, was about a kid who has a psychic link with an alien that lives somewhere light years away. There's a really not very well known one of his called Web that's about these spiders that develop a hive mind and start trying to take over. John Wyndham was also a very good short story writer. There are a few collections of John Wyndham short stories that are well worth reading. He's a very good short story writer. Locust Trooper, do I think Australia can survive another global recession? I think Australia could survive a global recession better than the US or Europe could. Basically, it would require contracting within our borders, but I think we could potentially weather it better than the US and Europe. Yeah, I was a big science fiction nerd. I was a big fan of the classics. I would say early 20th century H.G. Wells, late 20th century John Wyndham. I read Asimov, Frank Herbert. I got into fantasy, of course. I read Lord of the Rings, all those things. The Heretic. I have not played Fallout. I'm aware of it because it's hard. It's impossible to avoid it online. Jesus, the only video games I've played in the last couple of years have been the Borderlands games, and much more recently, I played Grand Theft Auto 5 and Yakuza 0. God, prior to that, I was playing Nintendo 64 games and PlayStation 2 games. So. Oh, yeah, Miss Fox again. Metro 2033 is a post-apocalyptic science fiction novel by Russian author Dmitry Glukhovsky, set in the Moscow Metro, where the last survivors hide after global nuclear holocaust. Ooh, that's a cheery sounding read. Nice, Shahatma. Share your book with us when you write it. I sound like a photo negative of a Queensland. Man, I grew up in country New South Wales, which is not that far removed from Queenslander. I just rejected most of the environment I grew up in. Mr. T, do I smoke weed? No, I don't smoke anything. As a rule, anyway. I have tried recreational drugs at various times in my life. Oh, the Heretic, that's the old school games. I used to play in video arcades, things like Pac-Man and Galaga. I'm old enough to have been in the old video arcades, but I mean, like seriously, we've still got to work. My original Nintendo 64 still works. My kids still occasionally get it out to play Zelda games, particularly Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I loved Battlefront on PlayStation 2, the Star Wars one, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, I was a big fan of. But now we've got a PlayStation 4 now and a Nintendo Switch. And on the PS4, I played GTA 5 and Yakuza 0. I tried Doom and Wolfenstein, and I can't get into them. So I'm going to. I just started playing Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Switch. Mrs. Angry is not a gamer at all. But she played through Zelda Breath of the Wild, and she's now deeply immersed in Skyrim on the Switch. Well, that's a good question. I'm loving your questions tonight, Locust Trooper. What would I be if I lived to the 22nd century? If I think 22nd century society would be unrecognizable to us today, assuming we avoid the worst disasters, and so I'm not living like a nomad, like Mad Max style, I think we would be in a post-capitalist society, because everything would be automated. I would still be working at being a creator, creating entertainment, maybe writing, creating some form of entertainment, assuming we had technology that kept me some form of active, which is not completely implausible. I would like to think I would be doing something as a creator of entertainment, whether it was writing or performing or something, because I think that's something I can do. And I think that's something that AI will continue to find hard to do. Mr. T, the big question, what would be better, US or China? If China got expansionist like the US, I think that would be a very bad thing. I think there are a lot of negatives about the US and their foreign policy and their domestic policy and how they affect the world. I think the world generally would be worse if China acted like the US. So I hope China never does that, because I think they're bad. Oh, yes, La Heretic. I host the Running Man. That would be it. I would do that. I host a dystopian game show. I'd be so bang up for that. Or even sort of reality show version of Alien versus Predator, where you have like a nature preserve where humans and alien xenomorphs and predators fight with each other, and it's all televised on TV. I could do the commentary for that. I would absolutely be a sports commentator for a sport like that. Are we talking about various therapeutic properties of weed? You're right, Charlie. It can help you get past anorexia, definitely. It has lots of medicinal qualities. You're saying that weed stopped you from killing yourself as a kid. You're a productive stoner. Good, man. Obviously, some people are unproductive stoners, but it can work for a lot of people. Cliff Jumper, you raise a good point that AIDSy could do well in Running Man, because you can't kill him. Except he would do devious shit. Like, he wouldn't be running around bashing people. He would be setting up traps and stuff, and making people kill themselves, basically. Yori, you could be right. Host of a dystopian game show sounds like a side quest to follow. There was an arcade video game way back. This is the 90s, early 90s, that I played, was called Smash TV. And it was in the format of a game show. It even used some lines from the Schwarzenegger, what's the Mars film? There was recently a really shitty remake of it. I've gone blank. What was it? It's a Schwarzenegger film. Had to go to Mars, and there was a really shitty remake of it recently. Someone's going to tell me any second. I know you are. Total Recall. Thank you. based on a short story called "We Can Remember It For You Wholesale." Yeah, everyone's jumping in now. It's Total Recall. Good. Remember, oh, was it? No, it wasn't Total Recall. It was RoboCop. The lines of "I'll buy that for $1" and whatnot. It was a very interesting premise of a game, and the controls. You had 2 joysticks, and one controlled the direction you moved, and one controlled the direction your weapon fired. And it was in the form of a game show, but it was a pretty brutal one. And what happened? You'd be in a room, and then the doors open, and a whole wave of people with baseball bats would run at you, and you would have heavy weaponry, and you could pick up power-ups and whatnot, and you're trying to kill them all before they get you with the baseball bats. So you have really heavy weaponry, but there's a huge number of them, so that's how it levels out. You're running around trying to shoot them all while a huge swarm of them are trying to just physically overpower you. And it was a really fun game. But it was like a dystopian game show. Jatma, before I go, you're doing an article for Uni about firebombing of Whiskey a Go-Go in Brisbane. You can prove the cops did. Man, the Queensland cops were so fucking corrupt, man. I would not be even vaguely surprised if you could implicate the cops in the firebombing of the Whiskey a Go-Go. Queensland cops are so fucking corrupt. My God. A locust trooper. And what's my view on 2 white couple 2 nights ago did 3 home invasion in 1 night? Well, see, that's what happened. Crime goes in waves, and particularly modern cars. You know why we're getting more home invasions? It's to steal cars. It's to steal expensive cars, because modern cars are virtually impossible to hotwire. But if you do a home invasion at night when the people are home, threaten them, take their shit, but take their car keys, then you can steal their car. Without the keys, it's virtually impossible to steal a modern luxury car. So that is one of the reasons we are seeing more home invasions. It's because it's the only way to steal a fucking car now. Oh, Misfoxication, that movie Gamer, that had Gerard Butler in it. I've seen most of that. I've seen, at various times it's been on, and I've seen the start, I've seen the middle, and I've seen the end, but I've never sat through it all in one go. Yes. Jahatma, go for it. Oh, look, man, I have been told such fucked up shit by cops. Like, I had a guy, and this was a Melbourne copper, and he watched my videos and stuff, and he was in trouble for some stuff, and he wrote me these long emails of, this is shit that all the cops are doing, like just criminal and corrupt stuff cops are doing. And he said, oh, don't ever repeat this, by the way, because they'll fuck you up if you do. He said, I just wanted to get it off my chest, so I'm sharing it with you. And I was like, okay, buddy, thanks. I'm like, good. Anyway, look, it's after 10 o'clock. I mean, this has been particularly good. I always like good chats with all you people. Did I like Oblivion, the Tom Cruise movie? No, yeah, that was okay. I did see that. That was okay. That had an interesting twist in it. I tell you what I really liked, Tom Cruise movie, Edge of Tomorrow. Super underrated sci-fi film with Tom Cruise in it. The Edge of Tomorrow. I thoroughly recommend watching it. It's really entertaining. Very video gamey type conceit in it, although it's not about a video game. But anyway, thank you all so very much for joining me again. As always, it's been a wonderful time with you. Really, really, really enjoyed it. But I am going to take myself off to bed now, helping a friend in the morning. Erica, who was in early, actually taking him to an appointment in the morning. I've got to get my Mr. T. I'm going to finish drinking for tonight, but hey, as far as I'm concerned, after tonight, it's the goddamn weekend. Although I won't be doing any live streams, but man, tomorrow night's cocktail night. So thank you everyone for dropping by. You've been awesome as always. I hope to see you again sometime soon. I'll try and get another video up tomorrow. I just realized I've been doing videos, like I uploaded a video on, I think I uploaded a video on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, live stream Tuesday, video Wednesday, live stream tonight. If I do a video tomorrow, I think there'll be a video every day for 7 days. Ooh, there we go. Anyway, so yes, I'll be back soon. All take care of yourself. Yes, thanks, Cliff Jumper, for reminding everyone. Do a thumbs up. We'll fool the YouTube algorithm into thinking I'm popular one day. Hope to see you again soon. Thank you all for your time, and I will say bye now. And theoretically, I'm gone.